The rumble of Harley-Davidsons echoed through Taunton and Brockton, Massachusetts. Members of the Outlaws Motorcycle Club gathered in their clubhouse, unaware that among them was a dangerous infiltrator. To them, he was Scott Calloway. In truth, he was FBI Special Agent Scott Payne. Wired and undercover, Payne lived a treacherous double life for more than 2 years. He slipped deeper into a violent brotherhood where loyalty mixed with cocaine deals, gun trafficking, and bloody rivalries. On July 31st, 2007, that dangerous game ended in thunderous fashion. The FBI and local police launched a sweeping series of raids. Agents seized cocaine, marijuana, over $100,000 in cash, and 18 firearms, including assault rifles. 15 Outlaws members and associates were arrested in Massachusetts alone. It was part of a coordinated crackdown called Operation Roadkill, one of the Boston Division's boldest undercover missions. This wasn't just another drug bust. It was the culmination of years of work, exposing how the Outlaws ran their criminal network in New England, and how close one agent had to come to death to bring them down. Payne's cover wasn't left to chance. Every detail was carefully crafted. The Harley-Davidson he rode, the clothes he wore, the bars he frequented, even the regional accent he adopted. He studied the culture, the slang, and the rituals until Scott Calloway wasn't a disguise. It was a second skin. The Outlaws of Taunton and Brockton were suspicious, constantly watching for cops or rivals. Earning trust meant patience. Payne didn't push. He let the club set the pace. He hung around, swapped road stories, and built a reputation for loyalty without ever appearing overeager. Slowly, he was invited to rides, parties, and eventually into the sanctum of the clubhouse itself. Inside, he gathered proof. Drug deals, weapons transactions, and conversations captured on hidden wires. Cocaine and marijuana flowed steadily, but the firearms raised the stakes. The seizures included pistols, shotguns, and an AR-15, evidence that turned drug cases into federal felonies. The search of the Taunton clubhouse proved decisive. Agents recovered drugs, weapons, financial records, and club paraphernalia that linked patched members directly to organized crime. The cash haul alone, over $100,000, demonstrated how profitable the operation had become. Each piece of evidence told a story. The guns showed firepower, the cash proved profit, and the recordings tied it all together. By the summer of 2007, the FBI had everything it needed, but Payne's position was more dangerous than ever. The more trust he earned, the more lethal it would be if his cover cracked. Before dawn, FBI agents, Massachusetts State Police, and local departments carried out coordinated raids. Targets identified through Payne's undercover work were taken down in one decisive strike. 15 outlaws and associates were arrested on charges ranging from drug trafficking to weapons offenses and conspiracy. For federal authorities, dismantling the Taunton and Brockton chapters was about more than arrests. It was about stopping the Outlaws from gaining ground in New England. The Justice Department framed Operation Roadkill as part of a nationwide strategy against the club, which was already under fire across the Midwest and Southeast for racketeering, extortion, and even murder for hire. To understand why Operation Roadkill sent shockwaves, you have to know the club at its center. The Outlaws Motorcycle Club, officially the American Outlaws Association, was founded in 1935 in McCook, Illinois. Older than even the Hells Angels, the Outlaws are among the most established outlaw biker gangs in the world. Their motto says it all: God forgives, outlaws don't. From the blood-soaked decades of the 1960s and 70s, the Outlaws spread across the Midwest and South, cementing themselves as a ruthless powerhouse of the 1% biker world. And in 2007, one undercover agent in Boston proved just how far The FBI was willing to go to bring them down. By the early 2000s, the Outlaws were no longer just a motorcycle club. They had evolved into a ruthless criminal enterprise, heavily involved in drug trafficking, extortion, and violent turf wars with rivals such as the Hells Angels and the Bandidos. By the mid-2000s, Massachusetts had become contested ground. The Outlaws were aggressively trying to establish a permanent foothold, planting dangerous chapters in Taunton and Brockton. At the same time, the Hells Angels Boston chapter remained a dominant and violent presence. For law enforcement, the situation looked like a powder keg. If the Outlaws succeeded, it risked sparking open warfare on New England streets. The crackdown in Massachusetts wasn't an isolated event. From 2007 to 2010, the Outlaws faced relentless federal pressure nationwide. The Department of Justice, ATF, and FBI coordinated overlapping investigations. The most dramatic strike came in 2010, when a federal grand jury in Virginia indicted 27 Outlaws leaders, including National President Jack Rosga, on charges of racketeering, conspiracy, and violent crimes in aid of organized crime. Those charges carried sentences of up to 20 years. Massachusetts wasn't central to that massive indictment, but Operation Roadkill was part of the same web of raids and arrests. It became both a devastating regional strike and a key piece of the broader federal strategy to choke the Outlaws' expansion before they destabilized New England's biker underworld. Undercover operations live or die by the strength of their cover story. For Special Agent Scott Payne, that cover was Scott Calloway, a Harley-riding, whiskey-drinking drifter who seemed to belong in the Outlaws' world. Calloway's backstory was carefully designed. He was from Texas and worked as a site survey specialist, a vague job that explained his irregular schedule, his ready cash, and his ability to travel between states. The cover was simple, believable, and flexible, perfect for blending into an outlaw club while giving Payne freedom to disappear when needed. Every narcotics package Payne witnessed was logged, photographed, tested, and entered into evidence. Cocaine and marijuana were measured by weight, giving prosecutors solid sentencing guidelines. Firearms were cataloged with serial numbers and recovery details. The government also built organizational charts, visual maps showing Outlaws' leadership, prospects, and associates. These weren't for show. They helped jurors understand hierarchy and responsibility inside the club. The key to the case was Payne himself. Audio recordings were powerful, but his physical presence during drug transactions, weapons handling, and cash exchanges cemented the evidence in court. Jurors didn't just hear the crimes. They had an FBI agent testifying that he was there, watching and participating. The evidence hit hard in federal court. On October 21, 2008, prosecutors secured their biggest win when Timothy Sylvia, president of the Brockton chapter, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to distribute more than 5 kilograms of cocaine. Under federal law, that meant a mandatory minimum of 10 years and the possibility of decades. On August 28, 2009, Sylvia was sentenced to 262 months in prison, nearly 22 years. His co-defendant, Todd Denorio, received a 10-year sentence for his role in the same conspiracy. These sentences proved that the infiltration had reached the top of a chapter and validated the FBI's strategy. The Outlaws weren't just guilty of street violence. They were tied to large-scale drug trafficking in federal court. While Massachusetts cases moved through the courts, the Outlaws faced simultaneous fire elsewhere. On June 15, 2010, the DOJ announced a sweeping indictment from Virginia. 27 outlaws charged under RICO statutes with crimes including attempted murder and drug trafficking. The FBI described the club as a national criminal organization. That same day, FBI agents executed search warrants in Bridgewater, Abington, and Brockton, Massachusetts. Operation Roadkill was shown to be part of a larger two-tiered strategy: local prosecutions against Massachusetts chapters and national racketeering cases against senior leadership. Working undercover inside an outlaw motorcycle club carried constant danger. Payne later admitted that his cover nearly collapsed multiple times. He was sometimes patted down for weapons or recording devices. One mistake, like placing FBI gear in the wrong pocket, could have been fatal. Club members frequently tested him with probing questions about his past, his supposed biker runs, or people he claimed to know. Any hesitation could spark suspicion. Worse were the unpredictable bursts of violence. Fights erupted suddenly, and Payne had to show toughness without escalating conflicts. He lived under constant threat, surrounded by armed men who would kill him if they discovered his identity. From these experiences, Payne emphasized 3 lessons. 1. Authenticity matters. His cover had to be layered with real detail, down to the Harley he rode and the slang he used. 2. Balance is key. He couldn't push too hard for evidence, but he also couldn't fade into the background. 3. Psychological strain is real. Living a double life day after day under threat of exposure takes a toll few outsiders can understand. Operation Roadkill worked because prosecutors stayed focused. Instead of charging the entire Outlaws MC in one sweeping case, they concentrated on airtight evidence, specific transactions, seized drugs, recorded conversations, and weapons possession. This avoided the overreach that had doomed other biker megatrials against groups like the Mongols and Hell's Angels, where juries were overwhelmed and defense attorneys claimed the government was prosecuting a culture instead of crimes. In Roadkill, the case files were clean, the evidence was traceable, and the undercover agent's testimony was direct. That precision is why the convictions held and why sentencing was severe. Operation Roadkill became more than another FBI case. It is now studied as a model of how to penetrate a violent, secretive organization and dismantle it with precision. The blueprint was straightforward but demanding. Embed an undercover who could live the role, document evidence slowly and carefully, build cases around focused, defensible charges. Instead of trying to destroy the entire club in one blow, the FBI dismantled the Brockton and Taunton chapters piece by piece. For Agent Scott Payne, it was a career-defining mission. His Scott Calloway legend showed how deep cover could survive under deadly scrutiny. For the public, Operation Roadkill revealed a rare glimpse inside New England's outlaw biker underworld, and how one man living a double life helped bring it down from within.